All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I also want to say peace and blessings to those for elect here in this word in truth and in sincerity. Now, so I just want to go through a quick breakdown of Revelation 17th chapter. All right, and Lord willing, this is edifying. Revelation 17:1, and it says, "And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." All right, and when you read further down this chapter, you're going to see that great whore, it's actually talking about Babylon the Great, which we understand to be America. All right, and also that the many waters represents, the nations. Because America rules pretty much the whole world. Job 9:24 says that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and we understand the wicked to be Esau, the so-called white man. Verse 2 says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." Right? And pretty much America has, let me say it like this. These other nations have taken part of America's ways, man. All right, case in point, you have sodomy amongst these different nations. Lesbianism, homosexuality. The dollar has been accepted among these different nations, and when you round it all together, these nations have left their culture, and incorporate the culture of America within theirs, man, within their lives. You see? It says, so they're spiritually drunk off of America's ways. Verse 3 says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." All right. Now, once again, the woman is talking about America. The scarlet-colored beast which she sits on, all right, is talking about NATO, all right, the European Union, because it's through these that America rule, right? It says having 7 heads and 10 horns, and the 7 heads really represents America's, not America, Salakia, Esau, right? The 7 heads represents Esau's rulership, beginning with the Greeks. All right, you got the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, Germanian Major, Germanian Minor, and then the British, right? So pretty much goes down Esau's rulership in America pretty much stems, out of that line. That's when you go to Daniel the 7th chapter. It talks about what? That little horn. All right, so that shows you that, these devils, they play a big role in end time prophecy. Daniel 7 and verse, and I'm gonna get straight to the point. So let me see. Verse 8, "I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots." You see? And that other little horn is talking about America. All right? And the 3 horns before it, Slucky. And the 3 horns before it, and you can go and do the history going into the Revolutionary Wars, right? It's locking my phone. Okay, the Spanish, the French, and the British represents the 3 horns. All right, because those are what ruled before America ultimately was established on the earth, and America came from the British. Right? It says, "And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things." Because when you look at the ways of America, all right, they're proud against the Most High and His only begotten Son. Revelation 17 and verse 4, "And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls." And that go to show you that America, is a rich nation, because that's what it represents. When you're decked out, with gold, all right, silver, precious stones, that means that, you're royal. Let's go to the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter. See. All right, Revelation 18 and verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore, you see, because these nations, they sold their products here in America and got mad rich off of it, man. Because America is a consumer, nation. You can make like these nations put anything together, and pretty much bring here in America and make top dollar off of it. But back at home, they're not making as much money as they would in America, man. Okay. Verse 12, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. So America pretty much, had it all, man. Had it all going on. All right, these nations, they were in league with her. Right? It says, I'm jumping out of 15. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, going into its majesty. Because, before America's completely destroyed by the Lord, it's seen as this great and royal place. But after Yahweh Shem Yahushua destroys it via the nuclear destruction and the chariots, these nations are going to be looking at it from afar off like, whoa, this is it. America's gone. All right, that great city is gone, man. It says, verse 17, for in 1 hour, and they're not going to be mourning for her because they loved her, but because they were rich, made rich by, selling their products here, man. It says, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? You see? Because America is going to be completely destroyed. Verse 4, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet. And the color purple, in the ancient world represents royalty. Because that color, it was a very specific process on how they would make that color purple. So only the rich, could really afford to get, garments that color. So that's going into our America. It's considered a rich nation, man. Royalty. And then another, example of, the color purple meaning royalty is in Luke the 16th chapter, the rich man Lazarus, how the rich man fared sumptuously, in the purple garment, man. All right. It says, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Okay. Again, going into, the lifestyles of America, the ways of this whore are being practiced by these other nations. You got to picture it like this. How, let's say a woman, seduces a dude, seduces a man, and gets him to drink something, whatever is in that cup. Now that dude is drunk. He's bugged out of his mind, don't know what's going on. And that's pretty much spiritually speaking about what America has done to these other nations, man. All right. Her ways have allured them, all right, to the point where now they're looking at the ways of America as the way of life, man. Which is completely false, because the ways of America is completely contrary to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. The ways of the Lord is how we should live our life, but America has flipped. Edom has flipped everything upside down and got people thinking that America is it. Verse 5, it says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And when you There's a breakdown on there by the Apostle Raimlab, an old breakdown, and it pretty much goes into the Salakia, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. It really breaks down to 666. The apostle does an in-depth breakdown going into it. Okay, so you can look that up. If you want to. Verse 6 says, "And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua." All right, because when you go into the history of America, how it was established, when the so-called white men got to the land, of course, as always, Esau's thoughts is always war, bloodshed, so on and so forth. The Native Americans, the Native American Indians, are the Seminole Indians. The Northern Kingdom as a whole, were victims of, Esau's greed, man. Were victims of, bloodshed by Esau, right? And then you have the Southern Kingdom that was also brought here, right? And they suffered, death at the hands of Esau too, man. It says, "In the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua," because you have prophets, all right, that are going to be beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, So America got a lot to pay for, which is ultimately why this place will receive the ultimate judgment by the Lord. Verse 7, it says, "And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition." And this talking about America. All right, because we understand during John's time, it was the Roman Empire that the Western Roman Empire that ruled. All right, the Western Roman Empire fell for a period of 1,000 years, and then was revived. All right, as America, man, through America, because when you look at everything you see in Babylon the Great, it ultimately goes back to ancient Rome, right? Gladiator sports, which you have football, you got boxing, right? You have coliseums, which is your modern day sports stadiums. And many different things that go back to Rome. It says, "It shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition." The bottomless pit represents Europe, all right? Because when you read the scriptures, a pit, can be symbolic to land, all right? And it's referred to as a bottomless pit because Europe doesn't produce resources. They import their resources, all right? You keep digging, as you dig, you will not be able to find, resources, gold, silver, and that's why they all, Salakim, brain fog, they commonly import things, trees, whatever, to pretty much, get the best out of that land, man, right? It says, "And go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world," right? Because those who are not of the elect, they're going to worship this beast. They're going to worship the system. They're going to worship, America and her ways, man, right? Even if those ways are against the Lord, they're going to worship it, because they're not of the elect. It says, "And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains," right? And mountains represents governments, right? Like when the scriptures talk about mountains, that can be symbolic to, governments, man. And in this case, the 7 mountains is talking about the Greeks, the Romans, Germania Major, Germania Minor, the Spanish, the French, and the British. All right. And it says, "On which the woman sitteth," because America, rules, above them all. Salakia. Verse 11 says, "And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition." Right? And Salakia, I didn't even finish 10. It says, "And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and not one is, and the other is not yet come." That's talking about the British. "And when he cometh, he must continue a short space." And then, they rule for their little time, before ultimately being rooted out as a superpower, man. Verse 11 says, "And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th," and it's talking about America, "and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition," because America is going to be completely annihilated when it's all said and done. We can go to the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, to get more understanding on how America came out of the previous kingdoms. All right, Daniel chapter 7 and verse 8, and it says, I considered the horns. Matter of fact, let me start from 7. Salakia. It says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. And he's talking about the Roman Empire, right? It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And what made it diverse from the beasts before it was that, unlike the kingdoms before it, because the kingdoms prior to the Roman Empire had a monarchy. All right, kings ruled. All right, the kingdom. The Romans, they had a senate. A group of individuals that make the decisions, just like you have in America, right? You have a Senate House. Okay, nothing new under the sun. It says, and it was diverse from the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Going into in their times, of course, they had their allies. In our times, it's known as the European Union. They have their ancient names during that time, and pretty much the same thing all over again, right? It says, verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. See, that another little horn is America, right? Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and the 3 horns represents the Spanish, the French, and the British. You have the history of the Revolutionary Wars. And then you have what they call Independence Day, in which they won their independence from the British. So you see how America came out of Great Britain. It says, and his horns were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things, going into their pride, right? Because the pride of America, is exceedingly high. When you speak something, that means you're professing it. And although they do profess it with their lips, right, they're also showing it through their actions, the disrespect towards the Most High and His only begotten Son, Yahushua, man. All right, the lifestyle pushed here in America is part of that. Revelation 17, going back, it says, verse 12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. All right, the European Union, the EU, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Because at the end of the day, America rules over them all. They have their little parts of the earth where they're ruling. All right, but America pretty much makes an overall decision for these nations, man. You see. Verse 13 says, these have, Salaki, I already read that. Verse 14, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Because these nations, they're going to make war with Yahushua when he returns. All right, especially Esau. Okay, this is Revelation 19 and verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. You see, who is Yahushua come to make war with? These nations. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And Yahushua is going to have many crowns because he's going to take down these different nations. Like in the ancient world, when you fought a king and put a king to death, you took his crown as a profession, as you professing that, all right, you taking his spot, you're taking his kingdom. See how Yahushua is gonna put down these kingdoms, all right, by destroying their governments, and he's taking their power. Okay, it says, verse 13, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of the Most High, which is Yahushua's title. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, right? The angels, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty power. You see? So Yahushua is coming back to make war with the nations. And they know this. And that's why the elite getting ready to run inside of their bunkers. All right? So, going back down to Revelation 17 and verse 15, and it says, And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. You see? And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. All right, because when it's all said and done, all right, the allies of America are going to shoot missiles at her. Thus say the scriptures. Verse 17, when you read the book of Jeremiah 50 and 51, it talks about how, one that I can quote is shoot at her, spare no arrows. The Lord is commanding, these other nations to shoot missiles at America, man. Verse 17 says, For the Most High have put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. You see? So that ultimately shows you that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is in control of everything, man. Even these different nations that seem to agree right now. Well, guess what? The Lord is going to turn their hearts one against another. All right? Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. You see? So a king represents a leader. All right? And when we think about a king, we think of an individual person, leading a nation. All right, but when you think about it, a king also represents a leader. And you got the leaders of these different nations, right? The leaders of these different nations, their heart's going to be turned against America, man. It says 18, And the woman thou sawest, Slakia. 18, And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, all right, which is America, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right. So the judgment's coming to America, man. Thus saith the Lord. Call Allah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. These things is getting ready to happen. Okay. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the overflow elect. Hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.